and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda. I am an aspiring author working on my first project, Project Crimson. It's a vampiric horror comedy set in the 80s, and on this channel I talk about my writing process as well as books, movies, and other things that inspire my work. Since it's still early in the year and I'm still very early in this project, I figured that it would be a good time to kind of sit down and go over some writing goals for this year, as well as talk more about my project because I feel like I haven't really done too much of that yet. In my last video, which was my first writing vlog, I did hit 5K words, so very early in the project. Beginning stages, I already have an outline that I need to go back in and look at and kind of change because I've had some other things pop up that are kind of changing the structure, so I kind of really need to revisit that. Most likely that'll be a separate video on the outlining process and how I'm kind of going in to like fine-tune what I have already. But yeah, I figured it'd be a good time to talk about writing goals, what I want to accomplish this year, and what the project really is all about. So what is Project Crimson? Project Crimson is hopefully, I want it to be novel length. I do have a working title for it already, but I kind of don't want to reveal it until my first draft is done and it's printed, and then I kind of want to do a little title reveal. But I am very happy with what I am calling it. So I've been calling it a horror comedy, but I don't know how to write horror and I don't know how to write comedy. So that's what I want it to be, but we'll see kind of what I can do with that because I'm very new at writing. I'm doing all of this for the first time, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. My humor is kind of like dark humor. Think like British humor, Monty Python and Holy Grail, very sarcastic undertones, foreshadowing in like a comedic way. So that's kind of what I'm going for as well. Setting wise, Project Crimson takes place in the 80s in coastal Maine, Portland to be more specific, in the fall. So I'm thinking sea fog, grays, dark, kind of like a Twilight-ish atmosphere, lots of fog, lots of moss, lots of trees, very damp, dark, while also it being the 80s, so neon lights and reds, opulence, velvet, and candlelight, and that's kind of like the mood that I'm going for. Portland, Maine, specifically the Old Port, which is the oldest part of the city. It's got a lot of like cobblestone streets, small alleyways, and it's really just a very historic part of the city, and that's like where I want to have my story take place. It's my favorite part of the city. It's very nostalgic for me. I grew up in Maine and I lived there until I was 18, and then I moved to Florida for school and never moved back. And now that I'm in my 30s, I really want to move home. So setting my story in that location is a way for me to connect with my roots, and it's just the vibe that I want to convey. And yeah, so I've been working on a Pinterest board or mood board for my settings, as well as like where my other scenes are taking place, whether it be like restaurants or bars or things like that. I find it very helpful for me to have visuals when it comes to describing things. So the Pinterest board thing has been very helpful. I've also been working on a playlist as well, just as like a mood thing. I think it'd be really fun to have the playlist songs match up to the book. So when I'm done with the book, I'll probably go back and see if I can't like kind of arrange them by scene, because I think that would be really fun. If you are interested in the playlist, I do have a link below to it, so go ahead and check that out. It really, I think, conveys the mood that I'm going for, which is that dark Blade type deal. And it's really exciting for me because I just love all that stuff. So next, let's talk characters. I only have three set characters so far. I have my female main character. I have a male character that isn't really a lead character, but I wouldn't say he's just a write-off either. He's gonna play more of like a part in it. And then I've started writing like a side character that's just gonna be kind of like a scapegoat thing. I touched upon in my last video that I was struggling because I have a character that I want to kill off, but I've been kind of like connecting with that character more, and now I'm kind of seeing a different arc that could play out. So I came up with a sub character to kind of fill in for that role, and that I can kind of get rid of instead and not have to kill off my male. So my female main character that the story is surrounding on, her name is Celeste. She is a vampire. She is from, I think she's gonna be from like Victorian period times. She is gonna have a backstory. There is gonna be revenge. She's very jaded because of the things that have happened to her, and she's been through a lot of trauma and things like that, which is why she kind of acts the way she does, very nonchalant and non-caring, and specifically seeks out men, specifically those that she feels like deserve it. She is very calculated and follows a strict set of rules that she has for herself. I haven't exactly figured out all of what those are yet. That's something I need to like sit down and figure out, as well as I kind of need to look at my vampire rules. So I need to kind of look at what kind of vampire is she, what kind of rules does she follow. Like, for example, there's a thing with vampires that they don't see the reflection. I don't want to keep that as something that my vampires have. I think Celeste's appearance is very important to her character, and her vanity is part of her personality. So she needs to be able to see herself, because she dresses her best anytime she leaves the house, and I need her to be able to see herself. So that's the type of thing I'm talking about. It's like, am I gonna go the more traditional vampire route, or am I gonna take a Stephanie Meyer and make a whole new glittery thing? So that's something I need to decide as well, to sit down and do. Also, I think I might think about that when I sit down to do my revised outline, which is, like I said, is probably gonna be a separate video its own. With Celeste, she's very against the idea of love. Like I said, she's been through a lot of trauma. She's very jaded, and she's very against it. That being said, I do have a little bit of a romance going through my plotline with a twist, and I can't give all that away, so that's all I'm gonna say for that. But I haven't exactly figured out all the tropes that are gonna be afoot, but we will hone in on that soon. So that's basically Celeste, like in a nutshell. She goes on a lot of dates. That's how she picks up her victims. I think it's a lot of fun. The next character I have is Eric. He is one of Celeste's dates, but she kind of decides not to kill him, like that he's not deserving of her killing him. So I'm kind of playing with their relationship now and how big of a role that I want him to play in the story. He's very much Celeste's opposite, where she's very confident. He's very meek. He's a blue collar, just average Joe type of guy. Works down at the docks helping the fishermen with the boats, so he's got worn hands and sunburnt face and kind of disheveled and kind of rough around the edges, but he's very soft and he's very sensitive and naive, and Celeste can kind of sense that, and so she can't go through with killing him. So I'm trying to see what kind of role I want him to play, whether I want him to become sort of, not a love interest, but he's kind of figuring her out, which could be a problem for her, if you know what I'm saying. So again, I don't want to go too into it. And I have a lot of twists. So there's some things if I like talk about, I feel like it will give the twists away. And those are the ones I don't really care too much about talking about my story, but I don't want the twists to make themselves known. So yeah, we have Celeste and we have Eric. And then there's going to be another main character, male. And then a few like sub characters, as well as characters from Celeste's past and her kind of memories and like things like that coming up. Timeline wise, this is 100% a hobby, passion project. I don't have any like set like I need to make a ton of money off this or anything like that. This is definitely like something I'm playing around with for myself and trying to figure out as I go. That being said, I do have some goals I put in place for myself just to kind of keep myself accountable and so that I do take this seriously. The main thing in that being that I would like to have a first draft done by the end of the year. Now, I know that seems like a lot of time for one draft, and you're right, it is. I've been working at a very, very slow pace, and I do not want to get myself overwhelmed. I know how I am. Have a very hard time getting things done and focusing and managing my time. So I want to be realistic. Also, the way I'm approaching this story is that I'm doing a 0 draft and then a first draft. What is the difference between a 0 draft and a first draft? You might be asking, or you might know. I think it's all very subjective to the person. For me, my 0 draft just means that I'm not letting the draft itself hold me back when I'm writing. So when I'm writing, I might get to a scene where I know what I want the discussion to be, but I don't know how the dialogue is going to go. So rather than holding me up and stopping me from writing, I will just put in brackets like conversation about blah, and I'll move on. Same thing with certain scenes. I will stop writing with a chapter and then maybe the next chapter will come up. I don't know how to approach it, but I know what I want to happen. So I'll write, this is what happens in this scene. I'll just put it in brackets and then I'll move on to the next thing. That is going to be my 0 draft. So I just want to get the story out and down, even with blocks missing. And then I'm going to go back in, filling in the missing pieces. And then once the missing pieces are filled in, then I'll have a first draft. So my 0 draft and my first draft are kind of one and the same. It's just the 0 is the step to completing the first draft, if that makes any sense. It makes sense to me. It's just like, to me, a first draft is a completed draft with like the whole story and nothing missing. So that's a lot of pressure to me. So the 0 draft kind of takes the pressure out of it, and it just is easier to get me to a completed draft. Yeah. I think if we shoot for about 10,000 words a month, that might be a little ambitious for me, but if we shoot for 10,000 words a month, we will be done by midsummer, which would be great. So we'll see if we can make that happen. Publishing wise, I know I talked about it in my first video. Definitely doing self-pub, mainly because I am a creative person and the whole process of it really interests me and sounds really fun for me, and I'm excited to create a cover and excited to make those formatting choices myself and excited to kind of be able to have my hands on everything. So we're definitely going to be doing that. Probably summer next year is when we'll look at beta readers, possibly. I don't know. That's just even if we even get that far. But Overall, I would like the first draft to be around 60 to 70,000 words. I think that's a good place to kind of have a big chunk done and not have to add too much more. Probably around 80 or 90 for finished project. Goal for the rest of this month is to hit 10,000 words. So I really just need to buckle down and get myself focused and start writing more. But that's the plan. So we're taking it slow, but I do need to speed things up because, like I said, I am working at a super slow pace. So I do want to speed things up. It's one of the reasons why I started this channel, to keep myself accountable and keep the momentum going and give myself motivation to write more and have fun with it as well. Overall, I am super excited to write this project. I've always been super into vampires and New England, and I have like that sense of like New England pride, and that's something I really miss since I live in Florida and seasons and all that. So having the book set in fall. Also, I would love to be able to take a little writing retreat up to Maine, just to kind of get in the mood and just use it as an excuse to get back up there. I haven't been up there since 2022 when I went for a hiking trip, so it's been a little while. Also, when we're talking about the year, I'd love to get my zero draft completed by June, maybe. That way we can kind of get into finishing the first draft. I'm going on a trip to Europe in September. I'm going to be going to Budapest, Prague, and Vienna. And I would love to do some travel vlogs while I'm there. I'd love to be able to sit down and write in those cities and kind of do like a write with me in this city or write with me in that city. And I think that would be really fun also. And just being in such a historical locations with the architecture and stuff, I think is going to be really inspiring for the work as well. Maybe I'll start some new stuff while I'm there also. Who knows? We're just trying to really be creative and keep the momentum going, like I said, and I would love to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think that's very doable. I also want to keep myself accountable with reading. I want to read 12 books this year, which is not a lot, again, for some, but it's hard for me to focus. So shooting for one per month. So I'm on the second one already. We're in the second month, so we're on track for that. Love to do some more reading reviews and things like that. I'm gonna do a little video on my TBR stack as well, which most are books that do relate to the topic of my story, because the more you read, it makes you a better writer, in my opinion. Other than that, yeah, I just want to be more creative, be more consistent in all aspects, take care of my mental health and my physical health, travel, write more, and all the good things. Let me know in the comments what you're working on, and also let me know if you'd be interested in some more detailed videos about characters. I know I need to go through and do actual character sheets for them, so I might do a video on that. Definitely going to be doing an outline video when I sit down and rework my outline, so that'll go into a little bit of that process as well. Like I said, I'm new to all this stuff, so I'm learning everything for the first time. Also, if you're doing that as well, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, or if you're interested in learning more about my project, go ahead and like, comment, and consider subscribing. It really does help me out. And thank you so much as always, and I'll see you in the next one.